Ah, dang it. It's okay, it's okay. No, I'll get him next time. Dang, looks like I got punched out. Punched out. Punched out. Ouch. Alright, so Punch-Out. When you think of series that helped to mold Nintendo as the giant they are in the gaming industry, you obviously think of stuff like Mario, Donkey Kong, Hatred, stuff that was popping off in the arcades and still has a healthy presence today, so that they've essentially become Nintendo's timeless weapons. But somewhere within that line from my script, we have the undeniably profound Punch-Out. Punch-Out is a series so influential towards not just Nintendo, but gaming culture as a whole, that I could easily spend an entire hour talking about its impact. It was all over the arcades, received several sequels and spin-offs, and its console editions have gone on to sell millions and create unorthodox but iconic partnerships. So where is Punch-Out today? Well, in fact, this year Punch-Out is celebrating its 40th anniversary, which Nintendo has hyped up by doing absolutely nothing.
Please understand.
Despite not having a single bad entry, continuous success, and being one of the most highly requested games right now for the Switch, the last Punch-Out game was 15 years ago. So the question becomes, why is Nintendo giving this seemingly golden franchise the cold shoulder? Today, we're going to discuss two very theoretical but grounded reasons. There's the reason you're probably aware of, especially if you've watched this channel, that's kind of hilarious, not gonna lie, and the reason you're at least subconsciously aware of, but maybe not as willing to admit out loud. But what exactly is Punch-Out? Why do people want it so badly? Who's getting punched? Are they out? Long before I was here on the internet complaining about Guiji, was the golden age of both the arcade and the sport of boxing. Not really a surprise that the two would come together and birth a smash hit child, Punch-Out, an arcade game about boxing.
Body blow, body blow, body blow, body blow, body blow, body blow.
For its time, it was simple. It looked great and put you quite literally behind the gloves, boxing your way to the top of the championship. It also had this two-screen setup which made it stand out. Ask your dad his first DS game, he'll say Punch-Out. I hope he will anyway. Nintendo would actually make a sequel called Super Punch-Out, but it's when the series heads to the NES where the magic happens. Punch-Out goes from this to this. And though it looks much less exciting than its arcade counterpart, there was someone who was about to make it a household name.
Power, power, power.
Now, you are playing with power.
Punch-Out by Nintendo.
Play with power.
11 world-class contenders. Take them down with your controller, beat them all, and you've got a shot at Tyson's title.
Play power.
But for that, you've got to beat Mike Tyson.
In a brand deal with the then undefeated heavyweight champ, Michael Tyson, Nintendo released Punch-Out for the NES. Do I gotta? This is the generational boss for your parents, or maybe even your grandparents, okay? Forget about Sans, forget about King Dice, forget about the... No, before any of that, Mike Tyson was the hard boss that became gaming's obsession almost 4 decades ago, making Punch-Out culturally iconic and a beloved piece of the Nintendo lineup. Yeah, I guess the rest of the game is fine too. Punch-Out is pretty simple. You just press one of 3, maybe 4 directions when the opponent attacks, and when they're open, you attack, and that's the entire gist of the series. The controls are very responsive, and the atmosphere is intense. Even for an 8-bit game, it is surprising how they could convey the competitive adrenaline so well. Wins don't just feel like moving on to the next level. I want to pop champagne and give a speech. Of course, the gameplay thrives in the variety of different characters you'll fight, as they all have different difficulties and approaches. For example, pizza, pasta, that's, well, okay. But then you have, from Russia, vodka, Drinkinski, all right. And how about Bob Charlie? No woman, no. Maybe a person unfamiliar with the Punch-Out series would say, oh, well, of course, Mike Tyson is the issue. I'm not letting my son play any game that has... And it's really funny because in the context of this specific problem, Mike Tyson is one of the few normal people. I'm digging my own grave. The rest of the characters are all fictional and from different places in the world, emphasized in Punch-Out tradition. Bear Hugger from Canada, Great Tiger from India. Almost every character in these games have something.
Let's see now. I can't start until I find my little, where, oh, I hear him. Where are you? There you are, you crazy little...
Aaron Ryan, the Irishman who is a braggadocious cheater with a weapon. Soda Popinski drinks mid-match to heal. At the time, these were meant to be fun and harmless, and I think they are. They've definitely gotten a lot softer in later entries, but they're still there.
Damn!
Even the Punch-Out wiki has a page dedicated to explaining every single stereotype. And you know, since this is a Voyan video and I probably have some sort of organizational OCD, we're gonna...
I think you're being too hard on French people.
No, I still think that if we go on offensive, I think that increases him up, because now
Do
we're...
we know any French people?
I think Glass Joe belongs.
You know what? I don't think he belongs. Oh, he's Italian. Okay, so he's not that bad. He's not that bad.
I don't know,
Not
man.
bad
I
at
feel
all.
like the name Pizza Pasta might be...
But we couldn't tell. We could.
His name's Pizza Plus.
Yeah, but that's what they're all. They're like, Mamma Mia, spaghetti. Like that's who cares? They,
Put that in like little offensive.
Kyler, if they had named Mario Pizza Pasta instead of Mario, where would we be?
that
in
would have been
2020?
sick.
No, because no one's gonna want to say I want to play.
No, because then they would have made Mario X Cooking Mario.
Yeah,
would've
because
said
then
Sold
this
a
guy
ton.
would be called Mario.
Let's play Pizza Pasta Sports
Mario
Mix.
himself is just
Pizza
pizza
Bros.
pasta sports mix. That sounds fun. What's everyone's two favorite things? Pizza and
Sports.
and then who is that? Is that Mr. Clean? Who is that?
it's Disco Kid.
Okay.
New Yorkers love clubbing, love partying, love disco.
Hell yeah, they do.
Okay, you know
Hell
what?
yeah.
You know, like I said, these are supposed to be fun. Punch-Out has had several developers in several parts of the world, and they still make jokes about themselves. But alas, in 2024, or at any point beyond, I think it's pretty easy to understand today's sociosphere and why this would be an awful look for Nintendo. What the f is a sociosphere? Hence why they've distanced themselves from it, and any Punch-Out game released for the system is added to the online and only casually mentioned in like a tweet. As much as I want the Wii version to get a port, it's tough to imagine what the marketing would look like. Punch-Out Wii comes to the Switch. Return to this 2009 classic to beat up some minorities. They could always make a new game though and just change the characters, I guess, probably. But these guys have become rather big staples, having been around for 40 years. It's as fun to see Bald Bull or Mr. Sandman as it is to see characters like Waddle Dee or Anna. If they changed it now, it wouldn't be Punch-Out, it would be something entirely new. When announcing upcoming games at the January 2017 Nintendo Switch presentation, there was one announcement in particular that created waves of nostalgia. Shin Megami Tensei 5, for Voyan that is, but for the demographic entailed in this video, I am speaking about ARMS, as a Nintendo boxing-centric game can only conjure up memories from one other series. Except ARMS has a lot deeper mechanics than Punch-Out, playing like a shooter with multiplayer having much heavier of a focus than matches against CPUs. The character roster, instead of ethnicity, or in addition to it anyway, varied based on material composition. Ribbon Girl, Mummy Man, Noodle Girl, Deoxys. Nothing about ARMS aside from punching is Punch-Out, and not associating it with such was probably the smartest move Nintendo could have made. Similar to how Splatoon was almost infused with Mario characters, creating something and not attaching a pre-existing franchise to it for a new console is how you deliver a new product to new people. There's like a line, right? Like, how experimental can we get with a new game without screwing with the expectations of fans of the series? Star Fox Adventures crosses this line. Sorry, I know it's like the low-hanging fruit here, but I've been up all night and it's the only example I have. This was Dinosaur Planet, a brand new game, and then Nintendo was like, but what if Star Fox?
What?
If ARMS had ended up becoming a new Punch-Out game, and I sat my dad down to play it, he would have been like, back in my day, we only allowed men in our... No, he wouldn't say that. My dad's never even played Punch-Out, but you get the point. ARMS is so much beyond a boxing game that putting a 40-year-old name on it would have misled Punch-Out fans and maybe steered away potential new fans. So that's good for ARMS, that it was able to bloom into its own identity. But okay, so what is Punch-Out then? Before we answer that question, let's go back to Super Punch-Out, as you may pick up on a certain historical pattern. Punch-Out on the NES is a fantastic game, a revolutionary game, but then a few years pass. The arcades take a bit of a hit. So does Mike Tyson. This would not stop Nintendo from releasing Super Punch-Out for the SNES, which made the interesting choice to actually rekindle a bit of that dying arcade spirit. The camera was behind the player again, the power meter returned, and people really like this game. Is it as big of a hit as Mike Tyson's or featuring Mr. Dream? Nah, but it's still one of the greatest titles for the console and a testament to Punch-Out's quality, which had been going 10 years strong. At the same time, I don't think it would have been especially surprising if Nintendo walked away from Punch-Out then and there. Yes, this series had gone a decade, but it had not grown a decade. The foundation of Super Punch-Out was the same as the original. Reaction time, memory. New fighters and new angles are great, 16 bits, but it's not evolution, let alone it is now the early beginnings of the 3D era and gamers are looking for that XYZ. They wanted games with bigger scopes, different perspectives, rotating perspectives. And for a while after this was the case, it seemed Punch-Out couldn't really deduce a way forward with its franchise, a way to make itself new without shifting too far from its roots. But I may never say this next line again. Thank God for motion controls. Only under the perfect circumstance could a new Punch-Out game happen, and this was a miracle. That's miracle. 15 years after Super Punch-Out, a Punch-Out reboot for the Wii is a game that most would not have predicted to happen, but makes perfect sense. Motion controls, punching, racial stereotypes. It is absolutely ideal for this console generation. Think about it. Reviving any NES or arcade property would be a gamble, but Wii Sports already proved the viability of boxing, so just in time for this franchise's 25th anniversary, Punch-Out, developed by Next Level Games, is a Punch-Out reboot with motion controls and two-player mode. Okay, first, I love this game to bits. Full video? Hey, we're gonna do a full video on it? The best thing about it is also the worst. It's hardly any different from the NES version, an arcade-style boxer, which is probably why they share the same name. It has a new optional control scheme, 3D graphics, some neat little story cutscenes, yes, but only 2 new fighters, one of which is a secret, not anymore, it's Donkey Kong. When you look at it as a reboot, and as the only new game in the series for the past 30 years, you realize that Nintendo never really figured out how to proceed past Super Punch-Out. This game is proof. It's the same reason there hasn't been a new Ice Climbers or Balloon Fight. They're arcade games with simple premises. That's not something Nintendo wants to do, not when they're trying to sell $70 games or $60 low-effort ports. I mean, I'd pay that for Punch-Out Wii on Switch just to support the series. But even back when this game released, people were complaining about it costing $50. Making the same game over with minimal changes simply isn't enough for this franchise. If this sounds familiar, you only need to look to another dearly missed Nintendo IP, F-Zero. When asked in 2021 about the future of the franchise, the creator relayed that it wasn't dead, they just don't have any twists or ideas to distinguish a new entry. And it's the exact same for Punch-Out. So, where do we go from here? Just make a Punch-Out game with more elevated mechanics, get rid of the stereotypes while we're at it? They already did that. Make a Punch-Out collection? Yeah, except all but one of them are on Switch already. Port Punch-Out Wii? It was $20 last year on the Wii U eShop, and I don't trust Nintendo. Punch-Out 99? Okay, that could work. Play indie spiritual successors? Yeah, that's usually how this conversation goes. Indies are always carrying the torch, and this time they're doing it for the entire genre. In an Iwata Asks interview for Punch-Out Wii, he gave one final comment. There aren't many games like this being released anymore, so my hope is that people that enjoy this particular type of video game will increase by even one person among the people who have been fans of video games for years and those who are new to games. But 15 years later, and not only has Punch-Out grown quieter, boxing as a genre of video game doesn't really happen anymore. In my youth, there was Fight Night, there was Ready to Rumble, Face Breakers, Prize Fighter, Black and Bruised. And yeah, there's a few recent exceptions here and there, but even a game like Undisputed still has only been possible thanks to indie studios and a lot of fan support. But if we were to go back in time 40 years ago, you'd think this genre would never hit the point it's at now. So let us conclude this video and hope that Nintendo will do something with Punch-Out. As great as Little Mac is in Smash, I don't know how many more dead franchises it can carry.